Hello and welcome to Mysterious Big Cat Cryptids. Before I get into my normal introduction, I wanted to mention how good it feels to finally be returning to the topics that revolve around cryptids. I know I did a video about gremlins recently, but that really didn't feel like a cryptid, but more of a, dare I say, folktale. Also, this video goes out to one of my longtime subscribers named Bloodbath. This fan has been asking me to cover this topic for quite some time, and even brought it up in both of my live streams. So a huge thank you goes out to you, and I hope I do the topic justice. As the name implies, big cats have been sighted all over the world, but are frequently put in the category of cryptids since they shouldn't be roaming the area that they are in. In today's video, I want to look at a few reports of such activity, provide an example of a not normal type of cat seen, and as always, look into why this phenomenon occurs. On a side note, I'm a big Walking Dead fan, and I find it interesting that, without spoiling anything, I decided to do this video on the same night a certain Big Cat cast member had such an impactful episode. So, let's dig our claws into this topic. Sorry. Within the realm of cryptids, there seems to be a bit of confusion with the term due to so many fantastical creatures being part of the label. Due to this, many associate the word cryptid with meaning fake or make-believe. As many of you may know, the true meaning really infers that creatures have been sighted, but there isn't any proof as to their existence at this time. I mention this since the topic of today's video does label these beings as cryptids, but, for the most part, there is nothing in the realm of fantasy with the reports. As mentioned previously, sightings of giant cats have been reported from all over the world, where they really shouldn't exist, and one of the locations may come as a shock to you. Frequently these feline beings are labeled as phantom cats or alien big cats, which is shortened to simply ABCs. Both of those terms can be a bit confusing, as when hearing phantom you would assume it was related to an ethereal or spirit form, and when you hear alien you probably think about little green men or UFOs. Within this, the phantom means rarely seen, as I don't really recall any reports of ghost lions. An alien simply refers to them roaming an area where they shouldn't naturally be. I mention this fact since I saw many people being confused by these terms, and I wanted to be clear on what we're talking about. Frequently what is seen are a range of big cats from lions, leopards, mountain lions or cougars, and jaguars. It seems out of all of those, the black panthers and mountain lions are the most commonly spotted variety. These reports hit quite close, as my home state of Pennsylvania has continually refused to acknowledge the existence of mountain lions here. Yet, you ask any hunter and they will tell you otherwise. Not to mention that our two biggest colleges, one of them I attended, both have the big cats as their mascots. Penn State is the Nittany Lions, and the University of Pittsburgh, otherwise known as Pitt, has the Panthers. Growing up in the rural areas, we frequently had frightening reports of a huge cat wreaking havoc at people's homes, and even in one instance, jumping into a fenced area with 3 pit bulls and killing them all before jumping back out. The state of Indiana has had sightings of mountain lion type cats since the 1860s, not to mention that since 2010, there have been well over 300 reports of the same creature. Their Department of Natural Resources, or DNR, have taken these sightings seriously, but are still convinced that the animals are simply passing through the state, rather than believing they currently have a breeding population. Since the 19th century, Australia has been a hotbed of activity for the big cat sightings. Every year, sightings occur of cats that are akin to black panthers or mountain lions. Many people believe that a population of these creatures make their home in the dense bushlands, and have been able to remain hidden from prying eyes. Over 1,000 reported encounters have come from just about every area in Australia. In 2003 alone, there were multiple reports where in 2 different sightings, men had been attacked by what they claimed was a black panther. Both men survived their encounter, and one actually managed to shoot and kill his attacker. The evidence to their existence is actually an accepted fact in the continent. Due to many of the reports including the bodies of what people saw, it makes it hard to deny the encounters. What is really interesting is that many locations have taken to naming the animals that they have seen. In India, a giant leopard-sized cat with gray fur was spotted by a photographer named Sandesh Kadur, as well as other locals, and it was called the Pogian, or the cat that comes and goes like the mist. In Denmark, a cat similar to a lion was spotted on multiple occasions between 1982 and 1995, and was soon named the Beast of Funen. With this case, officials have speculated that people were seeing a large dog, and others say it was a lynx. The problem is that lions are quite a large and distinctive looking creature, and doesn't look like a dog, and is much larger than a lynx. In 1992, a lion was spotted roaming about the Finland-Russian border. Multiple sightings occurred over a period of time, with many prints being left behind corroborating stories, but mysteriously the cat was never caught and seemed to move out of the area. I can't mention Big Cat Cryptids without at least noting that Britain is probably the biggest location for big cat sightings. You may not think so, but encounters have been reported for at least 1,000 years. One of the earliest reports is from a writer named William Cobbett from the 1760s. Not much is said in his retelling, but he does note seeing a large cat-like animal entering a hollow elm tree. This same instance was recounted in a later report stating it was a lynx in 1927. Old medieval Welsh poems have been found that mention a large cat roaming about the countryside, and it apparently had large claws. Many of the areas I have mentioned frequently have societies set up in order to protect these cats that many official sources claim not to exist. One such instance is the British Big Cat Society that is located in the Dartmoor Wildlife Park, and has amassed quite an extensive collection of evidence to these cats actually being real. As briefly touched on, the United States has quite a few reports as well, but honestly, mountain lions are known to live in many of the states here. However, this doesn't mean that they are everywhere. Without focusing on ones that may actually move from state to state, I did want to mention a state with sightings that is quite mind-blowing. Hawaii. Yes, Hawaii has had encounters with a jaguar or leopard-type cat since the 1980s. Many have searched for this creature to get to the bottom of the reports, but all have come up empty-handed. In 2003, a first sample was provided for testing, but it came back as inconclusive after it was DNA tested. Officially, the search for the creature has ceased, as no new sightings have been mentioned since late 2003. I'd like to take a moment and mention that a fantastical, and probably fake, big cat did exist in the lumberjack tales and was known as the sliver cat. This large animal resembles a mix between a lynx and a leopard, but it has a huge spiked club for a tail, red eyes, and its pupils were slit horizontally rather than the typical vertical orientation of cats. According to legend, it would jump down from treetops onto its prey, both animal and human, and knock them unconscious with its clubbed tail. It then would drag the body back up into the trees to feast. I love how fantastic some of the lumberjack lore was, but I do want to point out that a lot of cats do drag their victims into the treetops with them. As usual, that sliver of truth in crazy sounding stories. So after all of this, what is the most common explanation as to what these cats are? First, I applaud Australia with coming right out and stating the cats are real, whereas many other locations, including my state, claim it is all an urban legend. Many claim that the cats actually have a breeding population hidden from society and only come out when necessary. Other claims mention that people believe that the animals have escaped from zoos or circuses. Although, in many situations, those businesses were the first checked and many times didn't have any missing animals. The biggest hypothesis is that people are illegally housing these exotic cats and they either are released into the wild or just escape. I saw many situations where after capturing an animal, it was found to be fairly friendly to humans, or its teeth showed signs of living a domestic lifestyle. I can even report in some, not all, of the sightings around my state, the large cats were found to be declawed, which meant they were someone's pet. As a personal theory, I think that many times these animals are brought in to take care of another problem animal, and the whole process is not talked about. Similar situations have happened all over the world, where it is the mouse, cat, dog process. Get a cat to take care of the mouse, then get a dog to scare off the cat, then something to get rid of the dog, and so on. Many states in the United States have secretly introduced wolves into the area to help control deer populations. So, knowing this, my theory does make sense. At least for sightings over the past 100 years or so. What do you think about the phantom cats, and have you ever seen one for yourself? There are so many locations that have similar stories that I couldn't possibly include them all, but I do suggest you look into the topic. I know this video sort of was a bit different than my normal content, but I hope at the very least it was informative and cleared up some of those confusing terms. I know personally, before I even made a YouTube channel, I saw frequent reports of phantom cats in England and immediately thought people were seeing ghost cats. As a side note, if anyone knows of a ghost lion, I'd love to hear more about that. If you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing so you don't miss out on any of my new content, as well as becoming a part of one of the greatest communities that exist on YouTube. The community's greatness is all thanks to you, since you all have made it what it is, and I am thankful for each and every one of you. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.